welcome to yet another episode of Tellis Like It Is, where we discover the person behind the personality. I think it was Carlos Santana who once said that the biggest reward is when you're doing work from your heart and in doing so making a difference in the world. I mean, for various reasons, Carlos Santana's right up there, and the last sentence that he made kind of endears itself to me. I have with me a friend who's kind of willingly or unwillingly followed that sentiment. I mean, he does a ton of things. Music is his domain, but within that domain, he does a ton of things. He's the managing director and chief executive officer of Universal Music Group. Obviously, that comes with its own task, which he does, I might add, very happily. And he's done the rounds. He does a whole load to do stuff for people around him, for people far beyond his domain in the world of music. A happy guy to be around. I'm talking about buddy Devraj Sanyal. Thank you, mate.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Brian.
Hey, absolute privilege, Devraj.
It's special to be here.
Okay, so, it's been a crazy journey, like I just mentioned. You've done the rounds, various brands that you've lent your expertise to. Take us on a quick journey.
I started really early, Brian, because I'm the only son to two hardened Bengali parents. And if you are the son of a Bengalis who are born and bred and brought up in Calcutta, and your father happens to be a scientist who's had one job his entire life, I think what comes as a byproduct of that is a very charted course in your career. You excel in school, you do the IITs, and then you become a scientist. You have oil in your hair and you earn some money for the rest of your life. That would have been, traditionally what kids like me would have done, and a lot of my peers did. But my dad also told me when I was very young, one thing that really stuck with me. I was maybe 4 or 5 years old, and he said, son, and this is completely out of character because it's not like him at all, but somewhere sense prevailed, and he said there are two kinds of people in the world. One who drives the car and one who pushes the car. You have to decide which one to be. So apparently, and I was very young, but apparently, which I've been reminded over the years, I apparently told my father that not only will I drive a car, I'll drive a fancy car and I'll have a fleet of cars that I drive in. So I think at age 4 or 5, he said that, boss, this kid ain't going to IIT. He's not doing any of that, standard stuff that we expect Bengali boys to do. And as a result of that, I was driven very early to do stuff. So way back in college, pretty much at the same time when all of us were popping in what was only events back in the day. It wasn't an experiential and all of that. It was way early. Had an own company, did some stuff, did a lot of work actually way back in the very early 90s.
That was curtain raisers?
Correct. I did a huge amount of work for a couple of cigarette brands that one should not take names of. Made a lot of money very early. My first real sort of serious job was to work with my friend Nija Shah, who was then the publisher of Elle magazine, and I was one of their first advertising managers. Very quickly, did really well, went to a company called Baccaros with color cosmetics, did a few years there, and I was really learning. I mean, to me, my first part of my career was, learn quickly, absorb, get really good at it, excel at it, and move very quickly on, and then find something that you want to do in the long term. And then I did a stint at Times of India. I sort of started their entire below-the-line businesses in a company called 360 Degrees, which Vineet Jain very kindly let me sort of start with a guy called Mr. Parigi. Did that for 3 years, and then did a decade at Percept. Started only in the event business, and then sports and sponsorship and marketing and in film and the whole 9 yards, including Sunburn and all the other cool things. Music was always my calling. I remember telling my headhunter years ago that finally, when there is a real serious job in music, because the underpinning of all of this is I've always also had my band Brahma, which was two decades in of that, and that was pretty serious for me. To say that if I could find a way to bring corporate work and music into one combine, which, because to bring the passion of what you do in your own time and to use what you've learned over decades of actual work, if you can bring that together, hopefully you would be a company of the future. You would be a business that not too many people can bring, right? Because either you're a suit and you bring great managerial skill to it, or you bring great passion to it. Bringing the two of them together is a rare challenge, and you don't find too many people with that. And
I know.
I always wanted to be that. So when Universal came knocking way back in early 2011, I was like, I'm your guy. I took a 30% haircut which nobody knows. I've never said this to anyone, to actually join.
Wow.
Yeah, and I was already earning a fair amount of money by that time. I was still young.
That was 8 years ago that you joined.
That was almost 9 years ago, eight and a half years ago. And I said, yeah, but they were very kind and they sorted me out over a period of time. But I mean, that's how passionate I was.
I was once told by a businessman, reputed businessman, that, I can buy the best brains out of the finest business schools. I can poach from pretty much any global organization. The one thing that I cannot buy or cannot afford is passion.
True.
So he says, I have a silent prayer on my lips every time we recruit, the people at a senior level. And my prayer is constantly that he or she or they come with passion. And it's something we're privileged to have, and to be working around areas that we're truly passionate about.
And we made a career out of it, right? I mean,
Right.
all you guys I've seen, you, Neil, Otis, the whole gang, Owen, Jairam, do stuff that was way ahead of its time. And I think some of the reasons why you guys are so successful and have been is because it was, again, taking your passion and converting into a real business and being really good at it.
Right. I mean, it's been a great journey. I mean, I think one of the key things also is enjoying the process.
Yeah.
And that only happens if you're passionate about what you do.
True.
I see that happening in large measures with you. You never get out of work mode, do you? And I respect you for that. No, I mean...
My wife and daughter don't agree.
Yeah.
It's a continuous fight that we have. I know. Getting out of work mode is something that I'm not very good at.
But it's easy to explain. I mean,
It's actually not easy to explain, Brian, because the people who are not in it won't understand it ever. True. I understand why they don't understand, and I'm trying desperately to make them understand, but I know I'm never going to succeed at it, because why are you so obsessed with what you do that you can work 72 hours at a stretch? Why would you wake up at 5 in the morning every day and read 600 emails or read a book when you can actually sleep in and go to the gym at 8 and then go to work whenever you want, right? So it's something that can't be explained, but I truly believe that if you're in the business that you're in and you don't treat it like I tell everyone, I go to play. I don't go to work. When we were kids,
well said.
All the Bandra boys, we went to play football at 5:30 in the evening, and the joy you felt like, oh my God, I'm going to play. That's what I feel like every day when I go to work. I never, not one day in my career, and it's been a long goddamn time, I've never felt that, oh my God. And it's not that we're without our own degree of stress. We're in one of the world's fastest growing markets, in one of the most complicated regimes of our times. It's a real combination of various things that may or may not be placed for greatness, but the fact is you have to navigate through it.
How do you draw that balance? I mean, you said it. You spoke about stress. You spoke about constant pressure. I mean, you're the managing director and chief executive officer. There are tons and tons of, should I say, KRAs that rest on your shoulders.
Sure.
And yet you give vent to areas of passion. How do you draw the balance?
I'm two things, Brian, I'm really good at. Really, really, really. And I mean, I'm genuinely good at, right? And this is something that I try and teach every kid of mine, no matter, which company, whatever, people who I'm mentors to. One is that stress is not yours. If you can take your stress and physically put it to a higher being, which people can't do. Every time I feel enormous amounts of stress, I just elevate it up and I say, dude, old man upstairs, it's your problem. And it gets beautifully dealt with, right? So I never harbor and keep the stress inside my heart, so hopefully I won't die quickly. The other thing I'm really good at is, which again people say they're good at, but they're terrible at, is delegating. Delegating and empowering are things people have not learned. When I delegate and I empower, I truly do.
Well, that's
I
great.
have a fundamental saying that if you fail, I fail. If you succeed, you succeed. If you do that with your people, Brian, they will take a bullet for you, they will kill for you, they'll lie down on a rail track for you, but they'll try and over-deliver to make sure that the faith that you've placed in them is amply rewarded. And I think I operate 100% on trust, and so far it's never let me down.
Well, that's nice to hear. That's fantastic, actually.
It's actually the only way you can succeed.
Also, selfishly, it leaves you to do, bigger, better, greater things. What you're designated and paid to do.
Yeah.
So point really well made and well received. All of this, obviously, great thoughts, wonderful, how should I say, strategy, if you want. It obviously comes from a youth, and you spoke a little bit about it, comes from really solid values that you imbibed as a kid growing up. I want to go back in time, want you to take us back in time and actually kind of plot the happy story that was your youth into who you are today.
If I have to be totally honest, my youth was a mixed bag, right? I came from, like I said, a lower middle class family, promising and swearing myself that I would stop being lower middle class the day I could handle it, and I would become middle class, and I would become upper class, and I would become super upper class. Back in the day when values were different, and what you looked for in life was slightly different than what you would look for at 25 years down the line. But did I learn values from my parents? Yes, I did. Coming from a lower middle class family with Bengali values teaches you to be grounded. I think that is the one thing that both my mother and my father taught me, that no matter how much you have, no matter what you do, your head shouldn't swell up to a point where you can't recognize yourself in the mirror. I learned very, very quickly and very, very early. Did I have the most amazing youth stories? Actually, no. I had a very, very complicated relationship with both my parents at different times. Through one bad marriage, my relationship was really strained, time and time again. But I think as a son, I've been the most beautiful son you can find on the planet. And as a human being, I always look to see what's good in people. And when I look back over I'm 44 now, I'm going to be 45. So in my 44-year-old history of being an only child to my two parents, I think the one thing that I can proudly say is that I've been a great son, from being there for everything that was ever required. Would I have done it differently? Sure. There are a lot of things I would have done differently. When you choose the path that I did, when you were never at home, you were traveling, you were basically building your own career. And when for 20 years or 15 years, I had the band and work, right? So it was literally, you would gig every Friday, every Saturday, half of Sunday, rehearse from 6 in the evening to 10 in the night, drink from 10 in the night to 3 in the morning, and then from 7 in the morning, you'd go back to work. And I punished my body for 15 years doing that. It's a miracle I didn't die those days, because we were really, really, really pushing the sort of all boundaries on that. And as a result of that, I may not have been a great husband back then. I may not have been a great son back then, because I think I was obsessed with what I was trying to do. And I can honestly tell you that. But as I grew older, with the birth of my children, I think maybe with my son and my daughter, I think I realized that very early again, because I've done things a little early, is that life is actually about everyone else and not about you. And when that realization dawns and you do everything for your brand, for your kids, for your family, under the aegis of God, I think then you're in a good place. And
that's a beautiful combination.
I think, I think it came to me maybe in my late 20s, early 30s, so slightly late. But because I got married early, I got divorced early, I had children early, I did everything early, right? And but that taught me a few really harsh life lessons very quickly of what not to do.
You never stop following your passion. This is one thing I realize about you.
Not at all.
We've known each other for many years. Yeah, many years. And I think it's a beautiful thing that whenever we meet, the conversation's always passionate. The conversation's always fun. The conversation's always kind of forward-thinking.
Yeah, you have to be. Look at the market that we're in, Brian. India is till a year, 2 years ago, it was like big country, cheap data, many people, smartphones, internet, the standard damn slides that we open all our presentations with. But India is so much more than that.
It is.
It is a hotbed of talent. And talent that is truly world-class, whether it's the people, whether it's the artists, whether it's music, whether it's film, whether it's anything that touches our daily lives. And it is, I think, incumbent on a few of us, at least the ones who are progressive.
Right.
Those bunch of people will get together and make an India that we can be proud of. Come on, when we sit in the evening, apart from a progressive talk, what are we discussing?
Yep.
5 days ago, we were together at a friend's place. We are moaning about the roads. Right. We are moaning about the government. We are moaning about all of that. So if you really want to take your country to that next level, all pieces of it must work together. Now, we can't control the bureaucracy, but we can control everything else.
True.
Can we make at least that so shiny that people from the outside world, people from the West, people from the East, wherever, we have a better image of our country.
Absolutely true. You also follow your own personal passions. The work front, or what traditionally is called the work front, the career front, obviously we've dwelt a bit on it, and and that really kind of works for all of us people who are passionate about that side of our lives. But it also happens because we look to nurse and nurture our personal passions as well. I can spend a whole evening with you and discussing a band that we love or a genre of music that we love.
Absolutely.
And I know that you have obviously music in your veins, but you also, I want you to talk quickly about two things. One is the band, Brahma, because it's pretty legendary. I can remember sharing Rang Bhavan stages with the band. We had this acoustic band called Voices, and we've had some great fun, as much fun backstage as we've had on stage. And of course, the fact that you're passionate about your vinyls and is it 4 guitars?
Oh, no. It's probably 9, I think.
Oh, is it 9 guitars? So give us a little bit about the personal indulgence.
So the band was actually, band was something I wanted long ago. I was very clear. I was in Xavier's when I realized that music was one quick way of getting in front of women and getting their love very quickly, right? So from the quadrangle, which all of us have spent some time in the past with, and forming our first band called Orion in college. And I realized one gig after Kaleidoscope in Sophia's, and I remember this name because I was discussing with a colleague a couple of days ago, to have 2,000 women who want to do various things to you after a
in the
set,
woods
in the woods was a pretty good place to be. And I realized, man, this is a good gig. So the marketing brain in my head said, mate, good one.
Yeah.
The music side and the passion said, mate, you got to do this seriously. So while people were figuring out what the hell to do with their careers, I was like, man, I want to take this band seriously. And because I had done enough brand work till then, for me, it was like, how do I make my band a brand? And that we did pretty smartly. And I ran that piece myself. Even from my logo, I got a buddy of mine, unfortunately, he's no longer alive, but he was a one-show winner. He's a serious creative guy who designed the Brahma logo, which became legend for years, and 1,000, 1,200, whatever, 1,500 gigs later, it was something that, people would remember. And even today, my own friends and my own brothers who are significantly older than me tell me, Bhaga, when I was in college, I saw you on stage. I'm like, Bhaga, how you saw me on stage, man? If I was 19 on stage, you must have been 35 or 30. Maybe
the difference
30.
is not that much.
Okay, fine, whatever it is. How you were in college watching me? So, it was great because we were serious. We wanted to make a difference. We wanted to, throw away the bullshit that came with because bands back in the day, Brian, you remember, man, and in our holy company of the 4 or 5 the big boys who were in, and I can name them. They are buddies of mine, man. Parikrama, Pentagram, Agni, Millennium, Industry, all of us. So they were Rock Machine then. A few of them, of course, few of them were really sorry, but a few of them, it was, if you went backstage on Rang Bhavan, on an average green room, there were 4 bottles of Old Monk sitting.
Absolutely.
Right? Half the band before they went on stage were tossed out of their faces. They were doing all sorts of illegitimate substances, right? We, on the other hand, were desperately like military discipline. No one could take a goddamn sip of alcohol anywhere near a green room, right? So we went in with military precision, did a damn good job, wore black, sang the songs that we wanted for the first few years, covers, and then started writing our own music. I think till date, we are one of the few old indie metal bands that actually got published twice. The first album was in 1998 when most people were not born. And the second was in 2002. And after that, of course, work became, you became senior in your life and it was tough to do this. So we still played. We played till 2007 before I technically like to say that we sort of just kept our boots on the side. We didn't hang them. And then, of course, in 9 and 10 and 12, we kept playing. But it wasn't the every week of your life through the year, we weren't doing that because life took over. But it was the greatest experience that anyone could ever have.
I know.
To have that experience and bring it when you sit on the boss's chair in a music business changes everything, Brian. Because the guy in the front knows that this is a musician who's gone through the grind, who's also earned his first 1,000, 2,000 rupees in his first gig, which was not even petrol money back then.
That's right.
Leave alone, paying roadies how to eat vada pav. Where we come from that generation, to earning a couple of lakhs every gig, twice a week, 4 times a month. Yeah. And if I tell you some of the alcohol stories what we used to drink and where we progressed to, it'll give you a sense of how we moved.
You're not going to tell me Brahma was drinking malts, are you?
Bro, we were drinking, and hand on heart, we were drinking. So my guitar player's dad was an army guy. He would get his military quota. And this is Dean and me, my guitar player and me, we drink every night. 30 nights a day, 30 nights a month we were drinking. How much can your booze last? We could afford, there was SB director special, not all this fancy shit now, like the really low-end one, which we'd have to make last for a couple of days. We've also drank some very unsavory things which one cannot say on podcasts and shows, but stuff that people that
Say no more.
you know what I'm talking about. We've drunk that as well. And to a point where by the 20th your money would run out, and then what were you drinking? Rubbish, moonshine basically.
Yeah.
And then of course the money started rolling in, and then we started drinking some serious alcohol, and suddenly you were like, oh my God, you can afford. Our band riders had like two bottles of Black Label. At 22, you're in Mizoram or Manipur or somewhere with first the booze, and our roadies first thing is forget gear and all has come on. No, the booze has come on. No, first check.
Priorities and
priorities. So we've also gone through that. So it was what was important then.
It's about the journey.
But the point is that this was 5 people who truly believed in their music, who truly believed that they had something to tell the world. And we've always stood for issues. Whatever angst we had, we vocalized, we verbalized, we got into a fair amount of trouble for it. The real balance was, how do you get this suit-wearing executive in the day, and how do you keep that aside, right? It was a nightmare. But we said, I was just blessed to have good people.
Tell us about the vinyls and the guitars at home.
Guitars are, my first guitar actually, which I still have, it sits in my office in my performance area at Universal now. It was a 6,000 rupee Yamaha, which I first bought because I used to do 3 or 4 songs in the set, which was like sort of semi-acoustic. I still have it, it's beautiful. The first real guitar I got was actually a Kramer who endorsed us. So we were the first band in the country to get endorsed by a guitar brand.
Oh.
And this was Kramer way back in 1996, I think 96 or 97. And we got all these fancy guitars, and mine was a Flying V.
Ah, nice.
When you're that young, to get a then 45,000 rupee guitar was just like, oh my God, life was just amazing, right? And then over a period of time, the Les Pauls came, the Epiphones came. But I love them.
I'm sure you do. The vinyls as well.
Vinyls again, it goes back to my father, man. The old man gave me one vinyl when I was like almost, 2-3 years old. It was Carpenters and Engelbert Humperdinck, A Man Without Love.
Yeah.
And Songs for Love. These were my first 2 vinyls, and I fell in love with vinyls, and I've been collecting ever since. I don't know whether I buy anything else or not. I buy vinyls like a madman.
What's the collection looking like now?
Numbers?
Yeah.
Quite high. Quite high. Many.
More power to you.
Many.
But
I buy vinyls. My joy is, in the Camden market, the Camden Sunday market in London. Average vinyl price is £2 to £5. I go and buy 50.
Right.
Rotterdam, €3 a pop. I've bought 80.
But do you make the time to listen to
100%, every Sunday.
Because that's an illness sometimes.
Every Sunday.
Every
Sunday unless I'm not in the country and I'm traveling, always. I listen, I clean them, I put them nicely. It's all hooked up into a beautiful system. Absolutely. I love them. Vinyl over digital any day, till the day I die.
More power to you. More power to you.
Is that because our ages are slightly older than...
Our ages are... Well, what's the difference? 3 years?
Last I checked, it was 15. But anyway, never mind.
Shiny, happy peeps all the
Always.
same. Hey.
Brian just celebrated 60th life. And I already said I was 45. I'm not yet 45.
60 years young. No?
100%.
Let's get that right.
No question on that.
Okay, now let's talk about making a difference with music. Professionally, we all know, we've spoken about it as... playing the role you do in Universal Music Group, but there's a lot of really, really exciting things you're doing. Exciting from a social perspective.
Sure.
Exciting from making a difference to the world around you. Like I quoted Carlos Santana, who said it. And I know it puts a smile on your heart. Let's talk about the Dharavi Music Dream Project. Let's talk about Sterling Reserve Music Project. Let's talk about Peninsula Studios, which takes us back in time. Give us that aspect. Give us that side.
So since you quoted Santana, let me quote a favorite author of mine, a guy called Dev Patnaik. He says that the one thing missing in most corporates today is empathy. And it's true. Look around you. Companies know how to calculate, look at stuff in a very clinical way. They know how to act on it. But the one emotion that they don't understand is how to feel. Companies they're not able to feel. And when companies don't feel, or they don't have the ability to feel, there can be no empathy. A company with no empathy is never going to change anything in the world. They might have a healthy balance sheet, but that's all they're going to do. I was damn sure of this right way back, whether it was, and I think Universal gave me my wings to do this in a bigger place. I wanted to create a company with empathy. If music is the one emotion or the one tool or the one whatever that can genuinely create social good, one must do two things. One must earn enough money and be successful in the mother business so that you get enough money to do these things to a point where they begin to affect change, and not you don't do them for a bloody headline, which a lot of people do. Every day people say, oh, we did this and we did that, but it's bullshit. You have to be able to do them and sustain them and actually visibly demonstrate to yourself, to your companies, to your stakeholders, and to the people you're doing it for that you're actually affecting real change in their lives, right? So the Dharavi project actually is Universal's CSR full-fledged. That's the only CSR thing that we do. It was started by A.R. Rahman, Shekhar Kapoor, my buddy Samir Bangara, who you know from QK, and me. Four of us founded this about 4.5 years ago. We said, here is a place that has music in it. It's inbuilt. There is angst. It's the ghetto. It's the same way US hip-hop was built. We have to find a way to tap into it, right? And we saw there was drugs, there was prostitution, there was all sorts of shit going on there, right? And it was an impossible task to sort of break in there, but we did. We had some friends and connections who sort of helped us. So we started with a tiny little classroom, literally, which was, our idea was to actually teach hip-hop. Find the people who we thought had native nascent talent and try and get them to shine their talent so that someday in the world they'll be able to do something with it. Long story short, this became, it's a revelation for us as well. From a tiny little classroom it wasn't a classroom, it was a room that was half the size of this room. And with 2 or 3 students who would come and bebop and rap and stuff like that, to 130, 140 regular students who come 6 days a week between 4 o'clock and 7 o'clock for now 5 different classrooms which teach different principles of hip-hop. So there's somebody who teaches you hip-hop graffiti. But a lot of these kids are outstanding.
Absolutely.
You can't imagine. Imagine these are kids who've grown up in Dharavi in a one-bedroom sort of a hutment with 17 people living in there, but their ability for art is just next generation. It'll shock you how good they are, right? So there's somebody who's teaching them that. There's somebody teaching them to bebop. Somebody's teaching them to dance. Somebody's teaching them to... Recently we started, somebody was kind enough to give us this massive DJ thing. So there's now all our DJ friends who are coming and teaching them how to create beats and loops and stuff like that. And now they're beginning to create music. And the good part about it is that we kept it on the down low. We didn't talk about it much. Whatever little social stuff would go out because the kids wanted to talk about it. You'll see it that we are nowhere in it. We'll come once in a year and say, hey, we're doing this thing, and we sort of bugger off. But it got enough attention for some pretty senior people on the planet to come and sort of take interest. And suddenly, the global CEO of YouTube, Susan Wojcicki, Lior Cohen, the big boys at Facebook, everyone started saying that, hey man, can we come and see the school? And a day with Susan in Dharavi is a difficult scenario.
Yeah.
This is the global CEO of YouTube who travels in her private jet with security the size of Bandra. And that's the one corporate side of it. But as a human being, she's all heart. You could see the joy on her face that somebody who's that powerful sees what a tiny little school is capable of doing, not because of YouTube and what they can do and what we're doing, simply because how much of social change is really going to happen. And we've begun to see it. These kids are now going in competitions, they're competing with people, they're doing ciphers, they're in events, they're making their own money. A couple of days ago, we went and, my school lead went and gave all their parents checks. Some of them opened a bank account to receive their checks for the first time. And the parents were weeping, saying that, but this has never happened to us. Now, if you can do that to a community, and I really want you to come, Brian. I want you to come and spend a few hours and you'll see, it'll open your eyes. Like I took my kids there, Sam took his daughter. We all took our kids there long ago. And they came back like, my daughter was like, Dad, speechless. No. And these are kids who have so much to say with quick repartees and quick silence. Because there are a few hundred people who have not a smidge of what you have, but the hope in their faces, the hope that surrounds them, and the belief that they can become something is palpable. They know that we started this new label called Mass Appeal with Nas, who's one of the top 2 rap artists in the world, and they're like, Nas, wo kuch karenge, aayenge, bahut acha hai, everything. And one of the kids are like, mera single Nas ke saath hoga. And he meant it. He wasn't fooling around.
Sure.
They believe that they have now got legs enough to say, boss, I will change the world and I'll show you, you little suits who are wonderful people, but I'll show you that if you think we can only do this much, we'll do that much. But that doesn't happen, Brian, unless somebody really comes and puts a humongous amount of effort, resource, money, time, love, effort, coming together, doing stuff with them. Right. It just doesn't happen.
Tell us about the Sterling Reserve music.
Oh,
project.
that's one of my most selfish things. So because I am who I am at work, and because I do all these fancy bloody music things with hip hop and with pop and all of that, the truth of the matter is I haven't forgotten, Brian, where I come from.
True.
I was one of India's first independent musicians. I know to get my 2 record deals what I had to do. And bro, we were much bigger hustlers than the current lot. The digital age lot, they don't have half the patience that we did. So I've gone through that grind. The truth of the matter is if people like us, between my competitors or whoever who are doing Bollywood and all of that, film music, and us who's doing completely non-film but literally doing everything in it, what happens to the underbelly of independent music? Are you telling me that the kids from Chandigarh and Ludhiana and Kerala and Chennai and Calcutta who are doing, whether it's hip-hop, whether it's pop, whether it's rock, whether it's metal, whether it's English, they shouldn't get a chance? And it used to really bother me. And I'm like, dude, I can spend some money, but I can't spend an awful lot of money because all my investment goes towards, building my viral originals, mass appeal, and so on and so forth. So I was desperately looking for a partner who believed in this vision to say that, boss, independent musicians must be given a real chance. I found them in this brand called ABD. Sterling Reserve is a whiskey brand.
True.
They said, forget it, we don't care about the whiskey, we don't care about the brand, we believe in your vision, we want to come together. I said, look, boss, I will find talent, I will do everything here. What do you mean? He said, you'll be NR head. I'm like, I will be NR head. This project will have my personal time. Of course, it has my team's time, but I'm involved in it 100%. Long story short, from December of last year till October, so this one calendar year is not over, 10 songs have been dropped, or the 10th song is dropping now.
Oh, man.
Rock song, Hindi pop song, Bengali hip hop song, Telugu hip hop coming next month, a couple of more English, Punjabi. Now these are kids normally who would never ever get a chance. Now let me tell you a good story. We did a song with a very legendary hip hop artist who belongs to us called Ikka, right? Now Ikka has a little protege who we didn't know of. And I said, look, I really like this kid's voice. He sent me his demo. Can I work with him? He said, Paji, but he's my guy. So I said, okay, will you do a song? Anyway, created a song called Yo-Yo, became very big. It was a tribute to Yo-Yo Honey Singh. Yo-Yo himself tweeted it. Anyway, the song went ape shit. But Arish Chauhan, the kid who nobody knew, is now signed as a full-fledged artist in viral originals. Which means his career is now going to fly because A, he's an incredible artist. B, his voice is like of a higher being. But where would I have found him? So even platforms like this not only give independent musicians a chance to do what basically they would love to do in a plus fashion, which they otherwise can't do, but some of these buggers are getting the big breaks here.
True.
Because we are able to see them perform, and they're incredible, Brian. So my point is, why should this generation of kids not get a chance? And we are language agnostic, we're genre agnostic. You could be from anywhere, sing any song as long as it's a great song.
I'm so glad we're talking about this, Devraj, because this is such great work and it needs to be out there. People need to be seeing it, hearing about it, enjoying it, soaking it in.
And the numbers are staggering, dude. When we started this, Brian, first month we got some 20 songs, 30 songs. Now, it's coming close to double-digit 1,000 songs. We don't know what to do with the volume. We don't know how to process the volume. So there are now teams being put whose only job for 12 hours a day is to listen. So one guy in 1 month say, boss, you have to listen to 500,000 songs and give us the 10 best.
True A&R.
And then there'll be, we are the only company with an A&R team, but my A&R team is also human, dude. How much can they listen to?
Yeah.
And there's kilos of stuff coming because these independent buggers have now realized that, boss, this is the only platform and what do we do with them? We help them produce their song in a proper way. So this is not some scratchy demo crap. You produce it in a proper studio. It's mixed and mastered by a proper engineer. The videos are shot beautifully. And it is marketed. If someone told me when I was in Brahma, 20 years ago, that I'll do all this shit for you, dude, I'll marry you. You know what I'm saying? So the point is that it's important for us this is not giving back to society. This is just respecting a layer of people that aren't getting the respect. You know?
Here's a perfect balance.
I mean, your son came to me 2 years ago with incredible music from Color Compound. And back then we didn't have this platform, right? And what would I tell Bradley? Dude, we don't do English music. But today, and I'm glad we thought about it, we should talk about it later, but there is a platform. If the song is good and it merits it, and it needs to go out to the world, I finally have the arsenal and the tool and the weaponry to go out there.
That's right.
And ultimately the song will do what it does, bro. Beyond the point, we can't do anything, right?
You're creating a platform.
But we'll give it the same. So today, if I drop a big song, when Sterling gets dropped, it's not being dropped at this level.
Yeah, it's being dropped
there. Now, obviously, these guys are more known and their social followings are big and so on and so forth. So obviously, they'll fly. But if one of these kids fly,
Yeah.
so we've seen already one signed to the mother label.
Right.
Who knows?
Like
Someday one of these kids might be bigger than all of them.
Oh yeah, sure.
But if someone doesn't give them the chance and the opportunity, that day will never come.
Oh, that is incredible, Dev.
I'm very excited about
Incredible. And I'm so glad we're speaking about it. More power, more power.
And you have to give a big to the brand who works with me. Yeah? Not one time have they said, "Arey, mera branding dalo." None of that shit. So when you have a brand who doesn't give you all the obvious marketing stuff, it means that they also believe in your vision. So you need all of this stuff to come together, and a very passionate team who believes that they, like my A&R head for this project, actually has to be moved to something else. She refuses to go. She's like, no, I'll work till 3 a.m, but don't take me off this project. You know this girl.
Yeah, there's a joy that, in doing.
And I'm giving her a far bigger role. I'm like, we have to find somebody else full time for this. She said, no, you can't. And I see it. I've walked out of office once at 11 o'clock, once at 1 o'clock. And Ruth is working tirelessly. Why? Because Sheila, no, I'll do this, I'll do that also. I'll do full justice there. But if you take me away from this,
I'll be less of a human being.
Because this is special.
Yeah. No. True. And we underrate.
We absolutely do.
Sentiment. We underrate empathy, like you rightly said. We underrate who we are.
Empathy is going to change the world. Just have it quickly before, you're a world devoid of it.
I know, absolutely.
And especially at company levels, you must. As leaders, as CEOs, you have to have empathy and you have to teach empathy. Because empathy is not something that people are born with, You have to cultivate it. Or you need leaders who teach you to have it so that as a company, you can be more empathetic and life will be better. It's the only way to grow.
What is stuff that floats your boat outside of this? I mean, what is the stuff you do? Do you read a lot?
I read a lot. I read like a fiend.
You do?
I do. I read 4 books at a time. I read a lot.
Are you a Kindle person or a...
I am a Kindle person because I have no option and I travel so much. But I love...
The real
Sunday morning, cup of coffee, my physical book in my hand and vinyl playing is, to me, the number one feeling in the world. Nothing replaces that.
I think you've drawn a great balance, which is not very easy to draw. I mean, between doing what you love and doing what you love, but for different reasons, right? For different purposes. I mean, so we socialize a fair bit as well. We meet at common friends' places, and it's not very easy sometimes to disconnect one world from the other. But you do.
But I don't disconnect, Brian. It's one continuous motion for me. You asked me very early in the chat that how do you balance it? The truth of the matter is I don't balance it. It's just one big amorphous animal, and I'm happy with that. Within that, I find balance.
That comes through.
I mean, do I claim to be a shitty father or a shitty husband? No. I'm there as much as I can and with all my bells and whistles on, right? I mean, my daughter can never say that dad doesn't know what's going on. I know everything that's going on. But am I there as much as I would like to be there physically all the time? No, I'm not. But if I take this level of being in it, I don't think I'll do justice to where I need my path to take, whether it's our industry, whether it's my company, whether it's anything that I'm trying to do. This needs a bit of 24/7ing, a bit of vision that's going to carry. But I truly believe that when India is the India that we're proud of, I will have a part to play in it. Maybe it's in the media entertainment piece and it'll be a thinner sliver. Sure. But I think all of us need to do our part, and it needs to be very, very defined.
But see, this is what I mean. The power of positivity. I always say, I'm teased for saying it more often than I maybe should, about there are some of us who are focused on the half empty, there are some of us who are focused on the half full. And I think...
I see the half full as a full.
There you go.
Because what is half full? Dude, there are people who don't have that.
That's right.
There is 95% of the world, for them, the glass does not exist.
That's right.
The table on which the glass is set does not exist. And certainly the home that surrounds that the table is in does not exist. So even if you have 1/4, you have much more than you deserve, certainly much more than you need. Treat that as a word of God and go on with it.
Yeah. It was once said, right? I cribbed, I had no shoes till I saw a guy who had no feet.
Correct.
I mean, how true is that?
It's very, very true. And people, treat these as things you've read and smart things you've heard, but it's not. It's the real truth.
Yeah. I always say cliches don't become cliches for nothing, right?
Correct.
I mean, it's because it's the crying need that we need to kind of read deeper into cliches. Great, man. given the passion that you have for everything you do for life, I'm sure there's one thought or one emotion that resonates deeper than the rest in you. Is there one strong message or one strong belief that you have
I absolutely
that you'd
do.
like to kind of share with
Yes.
the rest of the world?
100%. I think the world being what it is, the amount of negativity, negative emotions, people surrounding you with not having enough or having too much and complaining and pretending they don't have enough, all of these multiple myriad problems that people have. I think the one thing we've forgotten a long time to do is to appreciate other people. See joy in other people's successes. Learn how to give a little more than learn how to take. We have forgotten it's a lost art in most people I know. They do charity because it ticks off one thing in their little diary. Acha, maine charity kiya. No, not like that. Genuinely. Will you die if you appreciate your competitor's song? Will you die if you appreciate somebody who's done better than you? Maybe he's at the same level and he's earning more money. Appreciate it, yeah. God listens. He'll give you. But if you're going to be one miserable sod, feeling bad about the whole world because of, well, it's never enough for you. It's never going to be enough for you, right? And I think for me, every minute, I think it's too much for me. And I'm so thankful and so grateful that I want to share that positivity. Everyone say that, man, and you see me, I mean, follow me on social, anyone who does, they'll say, I say good things about my deepest, darkest competitors who are trying to screw me every day. If they have a good song, I'll say it's a good song. If they have a shit song, I won't say anything. But if they have a good song, I'll say it's a good song, right? If someone does exceedingly well, I'm the first person to go out and say, well done. The world should know. Why not?
Exactly.
If you are able to give that emotion to the world, Brian, I genuinely, truly in my heart believe that the world will be a better place. I tell my kids this, I tell my employees this, I tell my teams this, I tell everyone this. That learn to genuinely, from your heart, not because you must and not because it's a thing that just sounds good on tape or camera or a podcast or a post, Many of us do these Instagram posts, some fancy shit that you do every day. No, genuinely. Then you will be truly happy. When you're truly happy, you will be able to change the world. Otherwise, you're just going to be a sorry excuse of whatever the hell you're trying to be, and you'll be midway. Will you be successful? Sure. All that is given. Will you genuinely and truly be happy? I truly believe that I'm the happiest guy I've ever met. I am never unhappy. I started with nothing. I'll go back to nothing, no problem. No problem.
Devraj Shiny Happy Sanyal, Devraj Crazy Cool Sanyal. I'll come up with a few more by the next episode. But honestly, truly special.
Thank you, sir.
Truly
Thank you,
special.
Brian. I really appreciate you having me.
Thank you once again. Like we promised, the excitement never stops on Tellis Like It Is. Thanks to gentlemen like this. Thank you for tuning in. Until the next episode.